Good evening, everybody. Happy for the invite. This book is by Mark Baker, the guy who's the editor for the English Turning magazine. So if you don't take good notes and you want to do this, you can always. There's some very interesting projects in here. I'll show you. That's what we're going to try and do. It looks big there, but it's only going to be about that high. And what's happening is you turn this and it's hollowed out. The neck portion here is taken off, and there are a couple of grooves in there. Hopefully your line be grained up to the point where it hides the glue line. Normally they tell you to do it with wood that does not have pronounced grain, but I've had lots of luck matching up the grain, so we're going to go with this piece of ambrosia maple. The grain in this wood is running parallel with the bed of the lathe. Spindle roughing gouge, spindle roughing gouge. Tool, whatever tool you're using, should touch the tool rest first. If you're engaging in a bevel rubbing situation, tool rest, heel of the tool, lift the handle till you see chips. The minute you get chips, keep it at that level. Normally, after a few cuts, two things happen. I've got space there. I need to move the tool rest closer. It gives me a chance to take a look, see if there's any cracks that were hidden, so this thing doesn't fly off. This is drier than I thought, which is good. If you notice, I'm not moving the arms. I'm moving the body. Got the arms locked into a little triangle. One more little check. Make sure nothing's going to fly off. Just the tool rest again. Close to the work. I just did that. If it bounces, it's not round. There's still a flat area on there. Let's see what we've got. Okay, it's nice and round. It's going to be a pretty piece of wood. Now I want to put a tenon on both ends of this. Parting tool, go straight in, port toward the center of rotation. First, I'm just cleaning up this end. Putting a little tenon on here to fit my chuck, which is a Talon chuck, which is what, about 1/4 of an inch. I want the face of that wood to sit flat on the jaws. The tenon goes down inside, but don't bottom out in the bottom. Bottoms out in the bottom, that's not a true center. And a little advice to go along with that: if this is wet wood and it dried, it warped, and I get ready to turn it to conclusion, the first thing I fix is the tenon again, because the bowl warped or the vessel warped, the tenon warped too. And I'll show you why I'm turning it down to a specific place. Everybody always says, well, the jaws, I can open the jaws up and wide, I can take a bigger bite. If the jaws are opened up like this, the only pieces, and I got a bigger tenon, the only pieces that are going to be touching are those corners. That's not the best fit. You want this thing closed to whatever is almost a complete circle, and that's just about a complete circle there. Where I've got, in this particular chuck, I'm looking for a 90-degree angle. I've got all these grooves biting into the wood to hold it securely. That's why I measure it. And so all chucks are, even the chucks that are dovetail, the same way. This is almost a perfect circle. So when you tighten down on the wood, this is about where you want it to be. You don't want them opened. The same thing as before. If I'm gripping a bigger piece, I've only got those corners on there. I want this whole inside grabbing this. And if you notice here, it's the same thing about, you want the piece of wood to sit on the face of the wood, to sit on the face of the chuck. The dovetail goes down, but don't touch the bottom of the jaws. That's about right there's good for that. So from the bottom, let's say the bottom's here, the middle, the widest part of this should be here. This is the top third of it. So if I'm guessing here, that looks about right. The widest part should be about there. There are a couple of ways I can go about this. I can continue to use my roughing gouge somewhat to rough some of this away. This is going to be the top. The bottom. Before I was going back and forth straight across. Now I'm using it almost like a spindle gouge or bowl gouge. Bevel rubbing. Working on my shape a little bit. Now I'm going to go to one of my favorite tools is just a plain old ordinary 3/8 inch bowl gouge. That's the center. My neck's going to be up here someplace. Bevel rubbing. Don't try and take all the wood off at once. Take off a little at a time. Bevel rubbing. Tools against my body. Getting a little shape in there. Don't want to make this at the bottom too small yet because I'm going to do some hollowing and I want some little stress down there. I don't want it to come flying out of off in little pieces. So I'm going to pretend that this is going to go right on down into the bottom, but I'd have to kind of know where it's at. It could be the wood, yeah. Ambrosia maple will do that. Sometimes where the little bugs been, for some reason, there are times when where the wood is softer there than in other places. And to help me kind of keep track of where I'm at, this is a beading tool. This was a spindle gouge with the point like it normally was. But I laid it against the grinder and I cut that point off. If I take that same tool where I've cut the point off and turn it over, becomes a beading tool. So all you guys that when you first started and you started turning, you said, well, I got to have some little tools too, and found out that your 3/8" bowl gouge will do just about everything you want it to do, and you really didn't need it in a box sitting there not doing anything. Beading tool is a good job, good thing to make out of it. That particular cut is just a marker for me that I'm going to use later to when I cut this off to line this up. You can pass that around. I want you. True it up as I go along. My parting tool, and I want to make this line just at the bottom portion of that bead. Normally, I'll make it a little wider when I'm making a cut like this, but I want to lose as little wood as possible. That's what happens when you got a project that's got more than one movement. Huh?
Boxes are suspension.
Give me one more little twist here. Okay, now go back. Okay. This is the top. And I got the little telltale ring there, which I'll need. When I get ready to fit this other piece on. Little vibration you hear is this being extended. True up that edge. Yeah. If this was wet, I would have pulled this out by now. When you pull it out, make sure you hold on to it. Hollowing time. Whatever method you use, I mean, I've got people who know me know that if there's a tool out there, I'm always one tool away from greatness, you know. So what happens is I end up with almost every tool. This is a Sorby arm brace, which happens to be my favorite hollowing tool. John Jordan hook tool. Even when I use this in a captured rig, I use this bar, and then one of the Sorby bars. When I get to it, I'll talk about that tip. That tip looks like an arrowhead cut from a piece of, what do you call it, planer blade. And that cuts so beautifully. All I'm doing now is making some room in there so I can get my next cutter in. This is, if I've got an 8-inch or 10-inch vessel, this is the way I start it. I'm widening that hole all the way down. If you notice, the hook is all inside the vessel, is always never resting on the tool rest. If I saw here, it'll have a tendency to do that. It wants to do that anyway, but even more so. When you're doing this, any kind of deep hollowing like this, keep it as even as you can. The worst thing that you can do is have a bunch of hills in there and you get ready to make the wall thinner and you hit all these bumps and you weren't expecting it and snatch the thing out. This is happening. By the way, do not go home and tell your wife that I told you to do this. This is a pair of barbecue tongs. Cut them in half, then you got 2 pair. You grind the sides off. It's the best for wet and dry wood, getting the stuff out of there. Find my lip, work on it, scrape across it. With this, I can pull or push, and it will cut on either way, each way. Okay. This is a small one. They have one that's bigger. It happens, you can set it, but it's also spring loaded. If I come up here near the top and I move it down, I can tell where it's bigger and I need to take some more out. This cutter is made like an arrowhead. This works, it works in dry wood too, but it works tremendously good in wet wood. It's made from a planer blade. Here again, die grinder, and put one of those wheels on it. If you notice, I'm pushing and it's cutting, pulling and it's cutting. I want to leave it a little thicker up here than the rest of it. Because part of that's going to go over. What do you say? Okay. It's my wall thickness there. I'm about a ½ an inch. And I'm about a ½ an inch all the way down, which is good. Okay, I'm not going to play around too much more with that. I've got this other cutter in there. I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. And it's got a little rounded edge on it. Here's, you want to pass that one around. Is that about what's free? And you hear me on this one. I'm just trying to smooth it out. I have got this, that blade is tilted down to about 8:30 instead of just 9 o'clock straight across. It's less grabby that way. My piece here. Put a little slight taper on that hole there. Didn't bring the right tool for that. Can use this. Nope. Spindle gouge. This is just a plain old skew. It's just a slight angle on there. Happy with that. That. Okay. Let me take. Here again. This one's running pretty good without the tailstock. Oh, is that it? Okay. All I want to do now is just true up this surface here. A little bit bigger than what I need. Parallel with the center. I want to make this about the same depth of the hole I got there. And just to make sure I did measure correctly, check. Go back. That's good. Okay. That's much better. If you do this, move the tool rest away, just in case it grabs. It doesn't grab you and the tool rest. Okay. Spindle gouge, 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Use it as a kind of a scraper to open that up a little bit. This way, okay, straight up and down, that's 9 o'clock to the edge, 6 o'clock. You want to be around 7:30. Scrape. I bet you can never guess why this piece became popular with hollow turn folks. It became popular because you make the hole small enough so that wood turners, because they're the only one that do it, stick their finger down in there to see how well you sanded it. John Moskell says that wood turners give all our pieces the finger. They run their hand down inside of it, then they turn around to see how well you or see how you finished, how you held it. So two things you don't want to do is let them see how you held it in the chuck, or if you can help it, don't let them get their little fingers down in there. One more little rub. Okay, that's set. Now, I want to yeah, okay. Okay. So what we do, because we're going to get rid of a little bit of this anyway, is we mark it. This evaporates fairly fast. Give it a little push. Yep, that hole is off a little bit. Okay. Now we do a little more shaping. So that's why I left it a little thick at the top, because I ended up taking a little of that away. Bring it down to the trough, eh? Okay, just a little, look at that. Did not seat all the way. Okay. Okay. Got that almost there. What I'm going to do is come around to the bottom here. You notice my cut line did not go away. That's the last thing to go away. Let's see if we can squeeze a little bead in there. Yep. Okay. Okay, give me that one. I was going to use one of the others. That's good. Thank you. Just made a little bead there. The foot should always look like it will support the vessel. And that's my whole thing. You see some feet and you know you can't put anything, it's going to tip over. So I usually leave just enough foot so it looks like it's not going to fall over on its own. Little teardrop tool. Little tear out there, I'll fix that in a minute. Fix my rest of my shape here. A little scraping to clean it up a little bit. Negative rake scraper is just what was askew on both sides. And you say negative rake scraper as opposed to regular scraper. It's flat on this side, it's got the one angle. And the difference is that if I've got this angle flat out here, this angle there, it puts more drag on the wood. Because I've got the angle here and the angle that's less of a drag. It doesn't cut as much wood, but if you've got a piece that you just want to finesse, and this is a finishing tool, not a wood removal tool. And all I'm doing now is just trying to take that, clean it up pretty good. And all this is minimize the amount of sanding you need to do. There's a little line down there. Let me get that out. Watch the top. If you watch the cutter, you won't see what you're removing. Keep the cutter moving, because if you don't, you dig yourself a little hole. This did not go back in as straight as it should have. Consequently, it's not going to match up as pretty as it should, but okay. I could have used a smaller point, but what it does is it kind of hides where the glue line was. And see, when I work on this and take this top off, our good friend Turner's, you maybe get your pinky halfway down in there, but see, I'm trying to remove as much wood as I can before I lose my support here. I'm hoping that the glue I got to the point where these would come apart, and I started using Don Russell's double-sided sticky tape to hold the thing in place. It's the stretchy, sticky tape, and it works like a rubber band and taped together. Yeah. Just delicately. Pushing that way. I've got that turned over almost probably about 6:30. Right size. Little line in there. That feels right. It's a little bigger than I like. Let me take that down a little bit. Now this is a place where I do some sanding. That being as big as I might even burn those places in with a little piece of some wood like a cocobolo or something like that. Make those lines stand out. And I usually bring one little waste block, and I didn't bring it. Where's my, oh here, I'll use this. Yep, that'll work, hopefully. Piece of, it allows you to cut this off. Because you're not looking for a little, you just want a little place there so you can hold that in place.
Does it just have a point on the end of it?
Yeah, just a little bitty point to go in the hole, the original hole that was there. That moving around's no big problem because most of this is going to go away. What it does, it gives you room to work on this back here. Nice tiny little cuts. Okay. Want to make the bottom concave so that if it does warp, it's trying to sit on the edges rather than sit there and rock from the center. I got a little chip out of there. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay. So I use a carving tool, put it flat, and just rotate it. Just take a piece and sand that down. There's your holophone. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh. Questions about that? But it's a fairly good project to do, and the problem is if sanded out and polished, that should be a nice looking piece. I've got this thing where because you can never tell whether a person's going to use it for food or what they're going to use it for, and I usually finish mine, go to the Beall buffing system. Everybody familiar with the Beall buffing system? If you're not, it's a system that you should use. And this is light wood. The Beall buffing system starts with, it's got 3 wheels, a Tripoli wheel, white diamond, and a wax wheel. Well, the Tripoli wheel tends to turn light things dark. So what I have done is I have got an extra Tripoli wheel for something like this, and I use white diamond on it, and I do that Tripoli wheel, then I go to the white diamond wheel, use its wheel, because each wheel get progressively, well, the first wheel is the roughest, the next one, and then there's the wax wheel. By the time I get to the wax wheel, I go with the Canuba wax, which comes with it, and let that set up, and then I come back with the Renaissance wax. And the Renaissance wax is used for just what it means. They started it in Europe to use in the museum so folks would touch things and wouldn't leave fingerprints. And usually that's the way I normally finish everything. Unless a person says, I want it real shiny, then you get out the glue or the lacquer and that kind of thing and do it that way. But normally I would just finish this with the wax, and that would be it. Their wax wheel is fluffy. They got another wheel that's 2.5 inches wide that's a mop, that's fluffier than their wax wheel. They also have a horsehair wheel. I do acorns, and I kind of indent the tops, and how do you polish that? A horsehair wheel fits right on there. Go to their website, call it up, and all of it's right there. Right there. You can buy the wheels individually, and there's a couple other wheels that they've got besides. You don't have to buy the whole thing. And then they've got the smaller wheel. I got a set of the 4-inch wheels that are flop. Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you.